Hockey Inside Out, presented to you by the Montreal Gazette.
Welcome to the HIO Show. I'm Stu Cowan with the Montreal Gazette, joined again by Chris Nyland, former Canadian and now with TSN Radio 690, columnist Jack Todd, and Kelly Gregg, our special guest this week from Global. Chris, the win 3-0 down to the Canucks the other night. The Canadians come back. Michel Therrien says after the game, I really like the character of our team tonight. Guys who compete hard, they deserve to win. I think that sort of describes this team.
Yeah, listen, they had a little blip in the game against Colorado, 6-1. They didn't get the best goaltending, the goaltending they've been used to. Their opportunities they had, they didn't capitalize on. So that was kind of a stinker for them. And then they come back out and go down 3-0. It didn't look good again. And Condon battles back, and the team battles back for him. It is a character win because when teams get in little funks, that's where the character comes. How do they get out of it? How do they climb out of it? If this is a slump for the Canadians, losing one game and then bouncing back, that's a good thing because, boy, they've been doing a lot of good things this year.
People dump on Michel Therrien, but this team hasn't really had a prolonged slump since he came in.
No, never. And, I can't believe some of the stuff that's out there. I saw a whole comment string the other day where they're talking about, these are supposedly fans of the Canadians, are talking about the problem they have because Therrien is winning, so Bergevin can't fire him.
Only in Montreal.
Life is hard, really.
Yeah, you have a coach that wins too much. This is really a difficulty, but he does. He wins. I know some people have issues with him. I do too at times, but
yeah, listen, he's not perfect, but he's won hockey games. He's done a great job here. I'm not gonna again, but I mean, just because he's a coach and he's doing well doesn't mean we can't have different views on some things that he does. So, like, he does make mistakes. He's not perfect.
But you can't deny that the team has been winning under him, and he's had all four lines really going since the beginning of the year. They've dropped off a little bit in the past week, but one thing that I'm seeing with the Canadiens is everything that used to be wrong is now going right. Price injured, okay, Mike Condon holds down the fort reasonably well up until this week. Dale Weiss all of a sudden is a goal scorer again, and we're wondering, okay, well, where did this guy come from? The power play that everyone was ragging on last year, all of a sudden is the beautiful thing that we're seeing now. So I think that this is what's showing the character of the Canadiens is these things that used to be wrong turning into right.
The thing that surprised me about the power play, I talked with Max Pacioretty after the game the other night, and he said we were just so predictable last year. Everything went to Subban, and I was like, well, if you're so predictable, why didn't they change it? But it seems to be working now.
Well, there's a lot of movement. There's more movement, different players out there, different times. Last year they were pretty stagnant. And they were going to one guy all the time. They were trying to set up PK for the big one-timer. Now they've kind of switched it up. And they're even getting predictable again, believe it or not. Watching the game the other night, they always work from the half board on the right side. I'd like to see them switch that up to the other side. But obviously, depends on your shooters setting up for the one-timers. But there's a lot more movement now on it than there was last year, that's
well,
for
if we
sure.
can predict all the goals they're scoring on the power play, then maybe not such a bad thing that it's so predictable this year.
It's that 1-3-1 setup they've got, too. Of course, now the story everybody's talking about now is Alexander Semin, Jack.
oh boy.
Does he have a future with this team? I mean, that penalty he took against Vancouver was almost like a get-me-out-of-here penalty. It was one of those bonehead moves I think I've ever seen.
It was, and you try to get inside these guys' heads. Since I went to Russia in '99, I've been particularly sympathetic to Russian players because I kind of see where they're coming from. The culture and all that is so different. It's not like a Finn or a Swede or a Czech coming over here, and especially him, like he barely speaks English, even after all his time in North America. So you think maybe it's a communication problem, but then you see what's happening on the ice, and there's just no excuse, and you wonder even if he can keep up. But the other night after he was benched, I see one of our local analytics mavens says there's no way he shouldn't be playing. His Corsi score is 69. He had, he only had 8 shifts. He had no offensive zone starts. Well, watch the friggin' game. I'm sorry, but watch what is in front of your eyes. The guy is not playing.
Look, my biggest problem with Semin is he was brought here as a goal scorer. He was brought here at a time when everyone was saying Carey Price is the only reason the Canadians are winning. Carey Price, Carey Price, Carey Price. And Marc Bergevin went out, and he needed a goal scorer, and that's who he got. And on Saturday night, when he registered no shots, he got called out by Terrier. The whole line did. What do the other players do on that line? Well, Lars Eller comes back with a goal. Alex Galchenyuk comes back with 4 shots, a very good night. And Semin comes back with no shots yet again. The guy has got to shoot. That's how Dale Weiss got half of his goals this year, just putting it on net.
Has Terrier given him a chance to succeed, though, Chris, or is it?
Yes and no. Again, you have to show the coach you want to play. He's not that type of player, the go-getter, I'm going to go knock someone down and get the puck. But sometimes I like to see him with maybe a different sentiment. Listen, I'm the guy who called this guy a dog when he was in Carolina after signing a big contract and going in the tank. Bergevin does go out and get him, but he went out and got a guy who just went in the tank and was a dog in Carolina his last year. So you don't know what you're going to get. You're hoping that he comes here, buys into what his teammates are doing, what the coach is preaching, and he turns his game around. But I actually felt bad for him the other night when he took that penalty. I've been there. Everybody can point the finger all they want. Until you've been there, you don't know how that feels. I know he felt bad. I could see him in the box. I saw him on the bench. Yeah, it was stupid. Galchenyuk took a stupid penalty that game too. And we didn't hear anything about that compared to Semin. But I'd like to see this guy get another shot, maybe with another line mate, another centerman, and just see what he can do. But I feel bad for him.
I still think the $1.1 million gamble on him was probably worth it. I mean, Carolina's paying him $14 million over the next 6 years not to play for them.
No, it's so much Bergevin's MO is, the gambles are minimal because the money isn't much, or what you give up in terms of picks or whatever isn't much. And I'm with Chris. I would like to see him out there, a 10-game stretch, maybe with the right centerman. I know Vincent D'Anfos, between periods the other night on the French broadcast, was saying he doesn't believe Galchenyuk is a center.
Well,
which,
okay.
I'm kind of like, whoa, but, Vincent played a little bit of center in his time.
Well, there's some credence to that when you see the fact that both his line mates are struggling.
Yeah.
The centerman's responsibility is to get them the puck so they can shoot the puck on the net. He hasn't done that. He's a good one-on-one player sometimes, but dishing the puck, give and go game, it's not there.
We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back, everybody. We'll stick on the Alex Galchenyuk topic a little bit there, Chris. People who say can't play center. You saw something the other night that sort of...
Well, yeah, here's the deal. The kid is still learning the position. It's difficult for all the people who said, oh, let's put him in as soon as he gets here at center. Oh, maybe the second year. Oh, maybe last year. Put him in. Now he's there. And everybody said, well, he should have been there before. He would have learned already. No, he would have been broken, because here's the deal. If you watch him in his own end and you watch the way he plays in his own end, he is lost. It's like the first time taking a kid from the country and putting him in the big city. He's like, where do I go? Where do I go right? All that. The other night in that 3-on-3, he stood in his own. He didn't know where he was or who he was supposed to pick up. So he has to learn that part of the game. And why he's learning it, I really feel it takes away from the work in the offensive zone, because he spends some time in his own end, and he's learning that, and he expends that energy, and then he gets up, and I think at times it takes away from his offensive.
Now, Lars Eller scored the big goal, shorthanded, to get the comeback going the other night. Is he maybe a guy who should be out there 3-on-3, maybe power play? Does he deserve some more ice time?
I think so. To me, Eller, I've seen enough of him over the years. You see just spectacular plays out of him at times, and you want to see that all the time. He hasn't really been put in the situation a lot, third line center, winger, whatever he is. I might like to see him back on the number two line at center and let him see what he can do and give him this time, especially when there's space out there like there is on the ridiculous 3-on-3, which I still hate, by the way. I would put Eller out there. Yeah.
Now, Kelly, sorry, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, Eller has been playing as a shutdown center last season. He was playing bottom six. He was playing with line mates like Brandon Press, Jacob De La Rose, all the bottom six players. If this is the time for him to shine, he's got to take it now, because he's playing on a line that should be producing so many more goals than they are, and that he has the talent to do that. And I think that if he needs to take the opportunity now, if he's going to show that he can be that goal scorer that line is looking for.
What do you thought, Zanella?
On Ella, listen, I like him. His effort is there. He has talent, but hockey sense he lacks somewhat. And when you lack that hockey sense and you don't have the ability to finish and read plays and set up plays, like I said, no one will work harder than Lazella. He works his butt off, but sometimes he gets himself in positions where he looks like he's going to go for the home run, he's going to skate through everybody, or he makes a great play, and then, boom, it explodes on him. The hockey sense a little bit is where he lacks. He does have the talent, though.
One guy who has hockey sense is David Desharnais.
Yeah.
After the game the other night, Michel Therrien called him a warrior, saying he would have never made it to the NHL if he wasn't. He's playing, I think, the best hockey of his career.
I think so too. If you had a top 5 contenders for the MVP to this point, he would have to be one of them. And this is a guy that, if he paid any attention to the internet, he'd be playing back in the
mayor
East
wanted
Coast
him in
Hockey
Hamilton on a
League.
one-way ticket.
Right.
Siberia.
Maybe where Seven's going.
Honestly, I was wondering if they had lost that game last night when it was 3-0. I was thinking, I bet if it finishes like this, the next game he's going to be back with Max. But, they came back, they won the game, everything's hunky-dory. But the guy's playing so well. We finally see when he's away from those top checkers what he can do. He's a force. And, yeah, he's the guy who doesn't quit.
I think that, Merrick Adair might be eating some of his words now. I think we'll maybe see the David Desharnais statue going up at some point. Or maybe just a street named after him. I think
he is the only Francophone on the team.
True, that is even more reason. I think that maybe with all that space he's getting, it really does improve his game. I think that, he is a smaller player. It's something that we hate to harp on with the Canadiens. But he is a smaller player. Once he gets away from those big elite defensemen, the big forwards, maybe, and he has that time and space, I think that's when he truly shines.
Thomas Fleischmann the other night scores a tying goal, Chris. The more I watch this guy, the more I like him.
Yeah, experience. He's been around the league. I mean, come on, he knows the game, and he's playing with a sentiment that we just talked about, a guy who now is away from those top checkers, not just checking lines, top checking defensemen on the other team all the time. He has more room. The people, that's the thing with the Canadiens now. They're not a one-line team anymore. Other teams come in here, they have to pay attention to Plekanec line, then the Desharnais line, and kind of the Galchenyuk line, but kinda. I say that, kinda.
Tell us how you really feel, Chris.
Jeff Petrie the other night had a bit of an off night. Everybody has one. He's played great since he was here. But an interesting stat, Petrie's +4 when he's been paired with Emelin, and he's -1 with Beaulieu. I think that says a little bit about Emelin.
I think Emelin's maybe one of the 2 or 3 most underrated players on the team with used to be Desharnais. I think Desharnais is being recognized now. He's the only defenseman out there who hits, and he really seemed to help Petrie. Man, in the first period the other night, Jeff was just like in the Valley of the Lost, and where Galchenyuk lives.
They're hanging out together.
Like, hey, man, did you get any sleep last night? Because and then it looked like he had a triple espresso between the first and second period.
Too much poutine, maybe.
The Petrie poutine. Now, Tom Gilbert is a guy who, I know you like him, Chris, and you look at his stats, he's +8 this season. He only has 1 assist, he's +8, same as Markov. He's, I think, underrated a little bit.
He's a bit of a surprise, a little bit of an enigma for me as well. I find some games I look at him and I'm saying, wow, Tom Gilbert, where did this guy come from? And other games I look at him and I'm like, oh my God, Tom Gilbert, where did this guy come from? Like, get him off. I think that, with Tom Gilbert, one of the things I notice the most is that he leaves a little bit too much space between himself and the forwards moving up the ice. But yeah, really a surprise to see his stats. I was kind of shocked looking at them myself saying, really? This is the guy who's your bottom pairing defenseman looking this good? But with the Habs record and maybe all the goals they've scored, maybe anyone's looking good at this point.
But number 6 defenseman.
Steady as she goes,
You say he's like a lumberjack.
You can't have, well, I say dresses like that. The long hair, the plaid shirts. People are like, oh, this American kid from the Boondocks. But, he's steady. There's nights. Every player is going to have bad nights. I mean, it's an 82-game marathon season, difficult games every night, night in, night out. Guys, we get so analytical, and sometimes I got to catch myself too because I hate to be that way. But sometimes I get that coach in me, and I look at the team, how they're playing, and if I was a coach, here's what I would say, here's what I see, and I try and I try and project that, but sometimes we can get over analytical on guys. Sometimes, listen, guys are going to have bad games. It happens.
Oh, that's it for this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you all again next week.